Everybody, Kale here. I was thinking today on my morning walk about friendship and salience. And salience, I'm thinking here in terms of what we see as important or significant or what have you. And like most people, I have friends who are different, right? And that's not a wise point, of course, just making my way into some kind of observation. And what I notice on a day to day basis is not always the same thing that a friend of mine notices. And sometimes I like that. Sometimes I like when my friends notice different things. And sometimes it really annoys me when people in my life don't see the same things that I see, don't find the same things salient. But I believe that that is an important part of why friendship is so important, but why it's such a disaster as we find ourselves having fewer and fewer friends just in general. This is not new to me, but the number of people who will tell or admit in a survey that they don't have any close friends is increasing at an alarming rate. And what are the consequences of such a lack of friendship? I mean, certainly one friend is better than no friends, but what do we lose when we have a shrinking pool? And I think what part of what I think we lose is, again, I know salience is kind of a fancy sounding word, but we lose a sense of our, I think Vervaeke calls it, John Vervaeke calls it our sort of our salience landscape, with our consciousness congress, right? And so friends help us see things and notice things that we don't necessarily pay attention to. Like, so for instance, when I first started dating my now wife, anytime you start dating someone, you become acutely aware of all kinds of things that you didn't pay attention to beforehand. And now that you are starting to care about someone, um, at least as much as you care about yourself, and hopefully perhaps more. I'm not sure how that all works out in the end, but nonetheless, you start to pay attention to things that your partner pay attention to, and that sort of broadens you out. And fine in terms of marriage, but I wanted to sort of specifically take this out of a romantic register and place it in more of a day to day friendship register. And losing friendship seems to also bring with it a loss of seeing deeply into things. I think of the friendship that C.S. Lewis has with J.R. Tolkien, and the friendship that they have with the rest of the Inklings, and how important that was for them. And I guess the reason why that's bubbling up to my consciousness right now is that I just reread Lewis's. It's an essay. It's really an address, but we'll call it an essay, "The Inner Ring," in which he talks about this incessant need that we have, an inescapable need that we have to get into the inner ring. It's this kind of social dynamic, and he notes that this game is almost impossible not to play. Becoming conscious of it is an important skill to develop, but that you will find yourself, it's easier to escape this incessant need to be in the inner ring if you have a group of friends. But he does note that even inside groups of friends, there are groups within groups, and there are rings within rings. But that friendship, true friendship, in that kind of Aristotelian sense of two people not looking at each other, but two people looking at the same thing together. I've always really liked that definition that Lewis has for friendship, or his little twist on Aristotle's conception of friendship. That at least if you have a friendship that is not based upon pleasure or use, if it is truly based upon the good, it has a chance of breaking you out of this ratchet of inner ring seeking. And so, why is that? I was thinking today, like, why is it that our friendships can kind of save us from this inherently mimetic, rivalrous type situation? And I think it has to do with the fact that two people can look at the same good, friends, but see it slightly differently or frame it in a different way or come to it in a different way. So, what I find particularly edifying about my friendships is that they force me to see the world in a different way than my own default. They compel me to figure into my seeing that small little doubt that you might have, that maybe I'm not seeing, the full picture. I might have a filter which allows me to see brilliant shades of green, whereas another friend might have a filter in which they don't necessarily see green at all, but instead they see brilliant shades of blue, or what have you. I'm just using this as an example, so that all of us have our filters set to different things. But if you can have a group of people who have slightly different filtered seeing, yet we're all oriented towards seeing in the same basic direction, well, you start to have a kind of richer, perhaps more complete view of things, because you actually see differently. You know, to be able to entertain alternative views, I think allows you to enter into what you might call a fellowship, which is a group of people oriented toward, a goal, let's say. I've been thinking a lot about friendship and fellowship as a way of breaking down or loosening the grip of my own mimetic desire and how it, confounds my own life. To become aware of that which you are not aware of is so important, because all of us struggle with the blind spots. But it seems if you have a group of good friends, you might struggle just a little bit less with your blind spots. And maybe even to become aware of those blind spots in such a way that your blind spots don't become or don't come to be your undoing. All right, that's enough for today. Talk to you later, guys. Oh, and by the way, I don't ever say this, but please go ahead and hit like and subscribe. That would be great. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'm happy to engage with you all. Look forward to it. And until tomorrow, see you later. Bye.